that okay, or is there something else you wanted to do?
No, that was perfect, actually. That was great. I got to find that one again. You know what I should do is, like when I get them, I should put them in a folder.
We are live on YouTube, and I will share that link on Facebook and other channels.
And I'm guessing that means the recorder's ready as well.
Have we figured out Bart's issue, Brandon?
Not yet. No, I'm looking that up as well. But the recorders are good to go. I'll get in touch with Bart or see I'll just double check the webinar to see that he's added as a panelist and kind of go from there. I'll be in touch with him.
Okay.
I'll just go ahead and start reading since, that takes a little while. You can always pause if we are going to start our presentations or something. So welcome everyone to the October 20th, I guess it's a City Council and Redevelopment Agency meeting, right? It's a work session. Please let the record reflect that all council members are present, with the exception of Rich will not be, Councilmember Heyer will not be here for the work session. Councilmember Lopez and Nadolski are running a little late. And right now we're trying to get Vice Chair Blair on the line. So I'll go ahead and read the council chair determination to hold electronic meetings without anchor location. In accordance with the Utah Code 523-2074, I have determined that conducting meetings of the Ogden City Council with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present due to the infectious nature and potentially dangerous health effects of contracting the COVID-19 virus. This determination is based on the following. Utah has been in a declared state of emergency due to COVID-19 since March 6, 2020. The World Health Organization has characterized the spread of COVID-19 as a pandemic. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, has determined that COVID-19 is easily spread between or among people who are in close contact with each other through airborne respiratory droplets and may be spread by people who are non-symptomatic. Federal, state, and local health authorities recommend limiting public gatherings, wearing face masks, and following social distancing guidelines. Currently, physical distancing measures are difficult to set up and maintain in the City Council chambers. Based on the foregoing, all public meetings, including work sessions and meetings of the Redevelopment Agency, will be held electronically through October 31st, 2020. Information on how to connect to the electronic public meetings will be posted on each agenda. The public may comment during the electronic meeting, during public hearings, or provide public input on items designated for input on the agenda. General public comments will also be taken during regular meetings. Written public comments may also be submitted through the following electronic options: through telephonic message at 801-629-8158, public comment submission form at ogdencity.com/public input, or email at citycouncil@ogdencity.com. And this statement was issued and became effective October 6, 2020. I don't see Vice Chair Blair just yet, but maybe we'll go ahead and review the agendas. So it looks like we have several public hearings this evening. The fiscal year 2021 budget amendments, miscellaneous grants is the first item. Are there any questions about that? I could just say Councilmember Stevens and Councilmember White.
Nope.
And the storm sewer utility. And the Continental Community Reinvestment Area. And Doug, I don't know if you mean to have your camera off, but I can't see whether you or not.
There you go.
Usually you're there, so that's the only reason. Okay. And then we have reports for administration. Mayor's going to talk to us a little bit about the Marshall White Center Advisory Committee, the ordinance, and then also the appointments.
I have one question. Councilman Heyer was going to get someone from District 2. Has that happened, or how do we handle that if we have a person from District 2 after what we do today?
So if you adopt the ordinance amendments, that will allow for between 9 and 11 members on the committee. They're
Okay.
only appointing 9 right now. So if there's other names that need to be forwarded, they'll follow the same process. The mayor will make the recommendation and you will give advice and consent.
So that would be done at a later date then?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. Has he come forward with any names that you're aware of?
Mr. Johnson said no, and I haven't heard any.
Okay. Just wondered.
I didn't know if the people that were listed were invited to the meeting, or I guess maybe they were notified it was happening. Sometimes they are.
So they were notified that this is happening today.
Thanks, Ed.
Yep.
I appreciate your response. You know, just in case, sometimes they like to attend the meeting, and we can thank them for their service.
I'm not sure if they'll be attending, but for sure they were notified. I talked to each one of them, and let them know that they were on the council agenda today.
Great, thank you so much.
Mhm.
And then for new business, we have Janine's going to talk with us and give a presentation about the Ogden Youth Council and Leadership Academy, and then we have just a little recognition for the students. I think, things would go a lot faster if we only had 3 council members normally. Maybe.
Yes, adjourned, yes. Okay, go.
I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. We miss our colleagues. Okay, well, we'll just see, if there are any additional questions about those items when everybody jumps on, we might have to go back to those. And then for the RDA meeting, special RDA meeting, we have the budget amendment.
Which is what we're going to approve in the regular meeting, right? Or hopefully.
Corresponding, yes.
I guess it would only be on the agenda if we did. Great. Just trying to stall just a little bit in case Vice Chair Blair is going to get on.
Janine, in my search for other things, I just ran across the chili blanco recipe that you sent like 5 years ago. So
It's cool or you'll love it.
got it.
Hey, but forward that. I don't think I was around for that
I will
recipe.
say it's an award-winning recipe. I won $100 from the chili cook-off here at the city.
Oh,
You better share. Great.
Share it, but it's already gone. Like,
will we have that as one of our meals when we get back to the city's meal?
Maybe,
We
maybe.
could all have a chili cook-off.
Yeah,
We have to eat our own chili, nobody else's, maybe. If we did it now.
we used to have that.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think I'll go ahead and invite Lisa Stout, our comptroller, to present us with the fiscal year 2021 quarterly financial report, if that's okay for everybody.
It's fine.
we have enough. Do we have enough to be able to do that?
Technically, we don't have a quorum. You're not conducting business, so it's just you're taking information. I guess it's up to the chair.
And they can definitely, I don't know if they can view this again. Oh yeah, I guess they can if it's on YouTube. They can view the meeting again, the people that aren't here. What's your advice, Janine?
I think it might be better if we waited a couple of minutes to give Brandon a chance to get Vice Chair Blair on.
Okay.
My advice, but
So we do appreciate you being ready and willing.
Pleasure to be here. This is the only social interaction I get, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know, well, we don't have many other items on the work session today. I don't know if there's any council business that the 3 council members could discuss.
So can we talk a little bit about the East Central? Sorry.
Yeah.
Who is conducting that? Is that a whole new plan, like they did with the Southeast Community Plan? I mean, are we starting I'm curious who's conducting it and
yeah, I believe it's planning that's starting that same process that they went through with the Southeast Community Plan.
Are they, I guess I didn't know. I mean, I guess my understanding was that they're just revising some parts of it. They're not just redoing the whole thing, but yeah, I guess that's a good question.
That's correct. This is to do with the BRT,
Yeah, it says on the BRT.
revising the parts that are interfaced with the BRT.
that makes sense. Okay, because this one isn't that old, if I remember correctly, as compared to the other ones.
I think there's also the 9 Rails consideration, the 9 Rails Creative District, and then there was one other item that was on there that. I don't know. Is there another thing on there, Marcia?
Yeah. The ADUs.
Right.
Well, I like it. I'm glad that it went out both in English and Spanish, and I just wondered more about it.
Yeah, I was excited to see the large postcard that was, revised. I had been sharing the social media post with my neighbors, and they said, we haven't even been noticed of this at all. And I said, well, I think a postcard is coming, and it came the next day. So I was relieved about that.
So do they need our names if we're planning to see that meeting? Do they need to know who's going to be there?
That's a good question.
I was wondering about that too, if all of it, how many of us can show up to that kind of event.
Well, I think isn't it on Zoom and that?
It's a Thursday, but I just didn't know if it mattered how many council members were present.
Okay.
Is there any issue?
They're not meeting at a particular location, are they?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's a community event. I mean, it probably would be better to keep it to 3 or less, just for appearances, but.
Yeah, I'm definitely planning to attend. And maybe that, whether people are available or not, we could say at least the people that have the district would have first dibs maybe, and then others, but I don't know if anybody else is available for Thursday. Are you planning to go, Doug?
Well, if my schedule permits it, but we're not making any decisions with that, are we?
No. Well, eventually you will, but
It's just,
sometimes just having you there can, be an influencer. But it's up to you. I mean, maybe as long as you don't comment and participate and just listen.
be just like a planning commission meeting.
Right.
And sometimes when I've been there when planning's been meeting with the community, people might just have questions about the process or something. And within my level of expertise, I try to help explain that a little bit, but the staff members are better at that than I am. Looks like Vice Chair Blair is now working on some internet challenges.
Janine, when are we supposed to have Visit Ogden come back to join us?
I don't have them on the calendar. Usually they come like in the early part of the year, like March-ish.
I just sat in on the board meeting, and they had a really, they've gone through a process, a really good strategic planning process. And it would be, I think, really valuable for people to see what they're doing and how they're working with COVID and in hopes of post-COVID. So I don't know if you want to touch base with Sarah and see if she can do just a quick presentation. If we have time, I don't know what our work sessions are, but like today would be a great filler, I guess, if nothing else.
I think we kind of thought that the conversation about the budget might be long.
I have one question, Chair, if I could.
Yes.
I went through the leadership notes and noticed, and I do have one question. The House Bill 411, in the notes there, it indicated that we had $100,000 set aside for that type of a program for what 411 presides to. The question I have is it possible for us to review other projects in the city and see if we could use that 100,000 some other place in our projects in the city? Then because through our experience is that ideas come up and projects come up and we are scrambling for funds. So is it possible to still set that aside and review some of the projects in the city and say we would like to use the money for such and such?
That money is just sitting in fund balance and it will stay there until you decide how you want to spend it.
So if we went through and had our staff review, see what projects we have out there and see if we need to allocate funds for other items in the city, is that possible?
Yeah, we might need a little more direction than other projects. We have lots and lots of other projects. So we might need a little more direction than just other projects. If there's a specific area that you'd like us to focus on, we can look at, we have a few of the strategic plan projects that didn't get funded, but only a few.
Are there some CIP projects that are?
We can look at CIP projects.
And I think if you don't mind, Councilmember Stevens, I wouldn't mind waiting just another week to discuss that.
Okay. This is a thought, you know.
Yeah, I hear you.
Looks like we have Councilmember Lopez on, so we do have.
Welcome, Councilmember Lopez. We are just pausing for a moment. Vice Chair Blair's having some technical difficulty getting into the meeting, and then it was only Councilmember Stevens and White here. So we were just waiting.
I'm sorry. I'm here. I'm here and I'm listening and alert.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, we were just kind of waiting for a moment because the item we have on the schedule is about the quarterly report about the finances, and we just kind of wanted to make sure as many people as possible be part of.
I'll just hang tight. Thank you so much.
You bet. Do you have any council business you'd like to talk about in the meanwhile for a minute?
Well, I'll tell you what. I can share something that's been on my mind. Sure. I a while ago, I talked to Janine about having someone from the community work with us to do the Hispanic Heritage Month proclamation a little bit different. Where every year, you know, we have the proclamation and we give it to, usually it was Lupec. Now we had 2 other organizations that joined us, and that's great. The proposal I had was basically just simple, which it was, we should find people in the community, Hispanic members of the community, that we could recognize during that meeting. And you know, like, for example, teachers, firefighters, or policemen, business owners, and just kind of change it up a little bit. Find, you know, even you know, business owners, restaurants. We have so many restaurants from different nationalities from Latin America. and just do like a little mini tiny celebration of honoring a person for their achievements. To, in the case, let's say that if it was a teacher, well, for their achievements, you know, to education and for their dedication, et cetera, and highlighting a little bit about their culture, where they come from, maybe their families, if they're present and whatnot. So a person from the community was supposed to reach out to us, to the council, to work on that, because he was gonna try to help us do this, and they never did. They never reached out to us. So I just wanted to put that out there. You know, if at some point council member chair Chaberca would like to maybe bring this up in leadership meeting, and at some point bring it up to the council to talk about it, you know, I just thought that it would be a good idea.
I think it sounds fun.
So there's my little piece that I had to share.
I appreciate that. Do you think we should reach out to that community member that had the, I don't know if they had the idea or?
Well, I don't, we could do it in one of two ways. One would be either we reach out to not just him, but we reach out to kind of the three organizations that are known for doing work in the community, which are LUPEC, Image, and Action. And we just let them know, you know, I think we would have to propose something and say, hey, look, we just want to recognize someone from the Hispanic community, you know, and we'll have to spell out a little bit of guidelines about what are we looking for. You know, would you guys want to submit, you know, proposals for recognitions? And that's all, something like that. And either we do it that way, or we do it ourselves, you know, which we could very well do it too. You know, it's not hard. You know, I can help. I can identify, you know, a lot of people in the community that would be deserving of something like this. You know, the good thing is that we have a lot of time to think about this, because it just barely passed, you know, Hispanic Heritage Month. But
I like it. Yeah, we'll talk about it more in leadership. Thanks for bringing the idea forward.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I think that's great, Louise, that you're bringing that up. I'd like to take it one step further, and let's see if we can recognize other nationalities of individuals and make it an international appreciation day of different individuals.
Well, you know, that would be really good. That would be really good too, Doug. And I think that, you know, we just have to figure out a way, maybe where the community doesn't feel that we're taking away from the significance of the Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yeah.
I don't know if they will or not, but I think the idea of celebrating all cultures, I think it's an excellent idea. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Great. Go ahead, Councilmember Stevens. Were you going to say something?
I was going to say, I like Louise's picture. It's very distinguished, you know.
Yeah.
That's good.
Since we have 4 council members now, I think we'll go ahead and let Lisa go ahead with her presentation. Thanks for your patience, Lisa.
Oh, thank you, Chair Chaberca. I appreciate the opportunity to be here to talk to you about the city budget. I'm Lisa Stout. I'm the city comptroller. We are currently wrapping up fiscal year 20. The auditors will be here Monday. So the quarterly report that we're going to talk about is primarily related to the general fund revenues. We were not sufficiently prepared to provide a full quarterly report to you at this time, so that will be coming. So this will be a good discussion focusing on general fund revenues at this time. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
And is that the right presentation? I can't see what you're seeing, so
You might be able to put it in full, change it to the
let's see.
full screen, just because you have a lot of numbers on there.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with display settings. Okay. Is that better?
Not quite. It hasn't changed.
Oh, you can't see the full screen? Oh dear.
Looks like Vice Chair Blair is on the meeting now. We've stalled just long enough.
How's that?
Well, I know it's not changing on our side, but you know, if it's too hard to figure
Gosh,
out.
I apologize. I keep hitting the display settings. Did that change it?
Now you're not sharing anything.
Now I'm not sharing anything. That did not
I'm
work.
sorry. I have been in your shoes more than you imagine. But it's back up, but still the presentation view. There we go. You did it.
Okay, wonderful. Only takes 3 times. So the information before you is information on where we are at year to date in fiscal year 20 general fund revenues. Of course, the majority of the general fund revenue comes from taxes, property taxes and sales tax. It's a little early to really have a great trend on tax revenue. There are a couple reasons for that. Our 2 major tax revenues being property tax and sales tax, we lag behind in sales tax. So although this is a full quarter that we're as of September 30th, it actually only has 2 sales tax payments included in it. So I'll come back to that screen. So when we talk about about sales tax, the 3.6 million, the third line down in this report shows that we have collected about 17% of our sales tax budget. And really the 2 payments were about 16% through the year. So we are actually looking really good on sales tax collections year to date for those 2 months. Franchise tax, again, we have collected only about 2 months worth of franchise tax, a portion of the 3rd month for some of the taxes. However, it lags behind because it's taxes. So the entity receives the money and then reports it to the city, generally the month or 2 months after they receive it. Property tax, we've collected a little bit of money, $400,000, but the largest portion of our property tax will be remitted from the county to the city in December. So we have a pretty good idea of where we'll be regarding property tax budget or how slow those collections are in December. We settle up with the county in March, so we really don't know what our property tax year looks like until March of the following year. But again, in December, we'll have received the majority of those property tax revenues. And then fee in lieu of, again, we're a month behind. So this is 2 months worth of collections in fee in lieu of. So that tax is lagging a little where we estimated. As far as the remainder of the general fund revenues, we're actually trending where we expected to when you consider the budget for license and permits, charges for services, fines and forfeitures, and other revenue categories, which really is our transfers from the utilities, that is the majority of the other revenue categories. So we would expect to see those right at budget. So that's, I mean, it's good news. We're looking very good. Intergovernmental, again, The majority of that revenue is B&C road funds and proposition or the transportation tax, the active transportation tax. We've received one distribution of B&C. We receive B&C road funds 6 times per year. We've received one distribution. So again, that's about 16% of the B&C funds that we should have received to date. And then proposition 1, where we lag a month behind. So we have received 2 distributions of the Prop 1 funds. So
other funds, is that of the other revenue categories, or is there any?
Yeah, other revenue categories, the majority of the revenue that makes up that $6.4 million budget is transfers from the utility funds to the general fund that council's approved, and the 5% administrative fee from the utilities. And then interest income, and then there are just a few other smaller revenue sources. But the majority is transfer. And we take that budget, that transfer budget that the council's authorized, we divide it into 12, and we move a portion of it every month. So it makes sense that that is trending at 25%. Are there any other questions regarding this big overview of general fund revenues?
For me, Lisa, it's hard for me to know what this looks like as compared maybe to last year's. And, so I know that we had gotten another little chart that had sort of the comparison. So I don't know if that's coming up in the presentation as well.
I did not think to do that. Let me see if I can.
I don't want you to have to do anything right this second or anything. I just, to me, I guess it's just hard for me to know when I'm.
So that is something I can absolutely provide for you after this meeting.
Okay.
I did not think to put a slide with that comparison in, but that you're right. That is a good way to look at it. What is this really telling us compared to last year? So I will make a note to provide that to you after this discussion.
Any other questions?
Chair, just this one question is, how does this compare to our anticipated loss? What were we thinking that the numbers would be at this time of the year? Do we have any projections of what our losses would be?
So I do not have, so you're talking about what we originally had budgeted, right, compared to what we've got received now. No, I have not prepared that information.
Wouldn't that let us know what losses we anticipated?
Councilman, we're not expecting losses. We lowered the revenue projection,
okay,
so that because we can't operate in the red, we have to have a balanced, we can't spend more than we bring in. So we lowered the budget revenue in order to make sure that we didn't overstate it and then spend beyond what we had money coming in.
Okay. But if we knew what we were thinking of, what our projections were, and we compare this, then that would give us a picture of just about what effect.
So I think what you're looking for, maybe, Doug, is a directionality of whether our revenues are trending down or up compared to prior years.
Right.
And I think the analysis of where we're at year to date this year compared to fiscal year 20 would provide the same information. Not exactly, but it would give you a directional indicator of whether or not we're trending up or down.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
I think in addition to that, again, one of the reasons why we're doing this is to make sure that we're okay. I mean, I think COVID really put a scare in us. Do you see, from everything you're reading, other cities, nationally, what are other cities feeling like? Is this about what they're trending? And if that's the case, are we anticipating another COVID issue that we might need to be aware of? Or I know you don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not asking you to put it in stone, but I'm just, what should we be watching for, and what should we be aware of? Because obviously you're watching it, and your colleagues are watching it closer than we are.
Yeah, and I do have some information about just things I've seen recently about the economy. So we can kind of talk about where the economy is right now, and kind of the short-term outlook.
Just getting to know the questions I'm going to ask, and that's why you've already have this.
No, I work with good people who have great recommendations about what to talk about. So, so just looking at where the economy is at, one of the things that we've just started looking at recently is the Consumer Confidence Index. So knowing that 70% of the economic growth in the US is based on consumer spending, it's kind of a really good short-term indicator about if people are feeling good and positive about the economy. When COVID hit, so in February, the index set at 132. In March and April, when COVID hit, it dropped from 132 to 71.2, I think, or 0.1. So it's gone up slowly. In September, it's back up over 100 at 101.8. It's still below the pre-COVID consumer confidence level, but it has risen. Also read that financial people are cautiously optimistic about revenue growth. And there are a few things that kind of put a damper on that optimism, and I think that you as a council should be aware of. We have a presidential election this year. The economy could have been artificially inflated the past 6 months. We've had higher unemployment benefits that have lasted longer. We've had the CARES Act support, where the federal government has infused a lot of money into the economy, and individuals have received tax payments from the IRS, tax rebates, that have kind of helped float us through this hard time. The US deficit is also at an all-time high, and part of that is the CARES Act and infusing so much money back into the economy. So I think there are some risks out there. I know Mark also watches the economy really close. And Mark, I'm not sure if you have any comments you'd like to add.
So directly answering Councilmember White's questions, many cities have seen sales tax be a little better than they thought. There are cities that are high, like Park City, Moab, that are just getting killed right now with sales tax. So sales tax for us has been a little better than we thought, but not on the trajectory it was on before COVID. We feel good about that, but we're a little worried going into Christmas, because Christmas is a big deal as far as buying power, and we're watching this consumer index to see what's going to happen with that. Traditionally, there's not economic downturns right before an election, but after the election, sometimes we can go into an economic downturn. I think Utah's poised better than most states for that, but you still don't know what the impact's going to be. We have no idea if property tax will be affected, because people haven't paid their property tax yet. We don't know how many businesses have been impacted and how many will fold their doors. The amount of money that's being given out in the state right now from the CARES Act is off the charts. It's keeping some businesses afloat. If we have a strong second wave of COVID, what does that do to these businesses that are hanging on by their fingernails? And so we don't know what we don't know. We've been impressed so far with what we've seen. I would say that fines and forfeitures and some of the fees have not been as healthy as we would have liked. Sales tax is kind of carrying us a little bit right now. But we feel like where we budgeted that we're not at risk. And I think that's the reason we went to the extreme we did with the budget. And after we get through a few more months of seeing how the numbers go, then we can sit down and maybe start talking about if there's things we can do for the employees, et cetera. And that isn't left our minds. We're still thinking and watching this carefully. We just need a few more months under our belt to kind of see how healthy and to see what's going to happen after the election, because that's a big deal.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying about the election, et cetera. I guess I just, in normal times without the pandemic, I don't know if we would have the election influence our thoughts in the same way. But yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely why the council members wanted to make sure we had a little bit of a longer time to have this discussion, because we are definitely concerned about, the impact on the staff members as well.
Thank you. And we've given that a great deal of time and effort also. I would have, even if without COVID, I wouldn't have been as worried, because I don't think we would be nearing the brink of a recession of some sort. I think COVID kind of thrust us into it, but as long as I've been alive and been in the financial business, elections have always been an unknown when it comes to the economy. And so you couple that now with COVID and some of the other issues that are going around the country, it makes it very difficult to predict.
So
We have the best people in finance, though, that are doing amazing.
So Mark, when would those final numbers come out? In December or January or?
Well, the Christmas numbers and sales tax, we don't get till February.
Oh, we're looking at February then?
So January, February, we might have a better sense for where things are heading. But sales tax is such a big part of the budget, and property tax is such a big part. Mm-hmm. I'm really anxious to get some of the property tax numbers and a few more months of sales tax just to validate where we are.
So do we get any taxes from the online sales?
We are. That's the thing we've been analyzing, where's the sales tax coming from, because there's a lot of areas that it's not coming from. But we have found that the grocery business has done extremely well, and I think not as many people are going out to eat, so they're buying more food. They're stocking up because they're worried. We're hearing there's going to be a second run maybe on the grocery stores. It'll be interesting to see if that happens. The grocery stores have had banner years. Home improvement has had banner year. And I think it's because people are bored, they're home, they're cleaning up their houses, they're doing things and projects in their homes. So, and then online has really, really spiked. And so we're seeing some of the industries that are carrying along. I think car industry, surprisingly, they're selling cars if they can get them. And some of the car dealerships are struggling because they kind of turned down making cars for a while. And so they're having a hard time getting the stock so that they can sell. But they said there's some people buying cars that they know can't afford them, and they're worried about in 6 to 7 months whether the used car industry is going to be huge, because people are going to have to turn back the car because they can't afford them. So it's an interesting time we're in. Our area is pretty high in credit card debt, which worries us a little bit. That's a real concern for us, that we kind of lead I think the state of Utah in credit card debt in our area. That's a concern. So we're trying to balance all of these little, and this is not territory any of us have ever been in. I may look like I'm old enough to have been through the 1918, 1919 pandemic, but I'm not. And because we've never been through this, we're kind of feeling our way through and being cautious, and kind of like you were during the budget, we've been cautious and staying cautious.
No, and I definitely appreciate it. I mean, I'm glad that we haven't had to let anybody go or those kinds of things, which a lot of other industries have had to do. I'm not sure if Councilmember Heyer had any questions. I know he was just able to join us a little bit ago.
Nope, I'm eager to catch up on what I missed. I'm not smart enough to ask any questions yet.
Oh, no, no worries.
So I have amazing staff members who helped me, and they pulled this information while we were talking.
Just while we were talking. Well, that is cool.
Yes. It is. They're very impressive.
They gave me the assignment to stall while I pulled the numbers.
Thank you. You did a great job. Good job.
So this is comparing the same time period for 19, 20, and 21. So as you can see, when we look at, I'm focusing on taxes just because that is the biggest portion of our budget for the general fund. Our budget in taxes is actually lower than it was in 19, but in fiscal year 19, we were at 4.9. And I haven't had the time to do the analysis, Marcia, but I can certainly provide some commentary on what taxes are lower or have increased going forward. But it's going to be primarily sales tax is going to be the biggest piece of this. 5 million in 20 and 5.5 million in 21. So what that tells me, if those trends continue, is we have been very conservative budgeting. But again, we're still very early in our revenue cycle for fiscal year 21. So I will provide this to you and your staff.
But if you keep going down the list, charges for services were well below last year.
Yes.
Fines and forfeitures were well below last year, and those and the other revenue categories were well below. So those kind of concern me. Those are trends that if they continue, then that means we're living on sales tax right now, and that's a concern.
Good point, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah, this is very helpful. Yeah, that kind of gives us a perspective of previous years. You just, instead of just picking something out of the.
Yeah, I'll forward this information to your staff.
That would be great. Yeah, for me, I totally get that there's different times of year when different revenues will come in. It's just hard to know. A point in time is nice to be able to just compare a little bit.
Yep, I agree. So
thank you.
And again, this is an abbreviated, we still need a little time to finalize the quarter ended September to provide the full quarterly report to you. So this really is just an abbreviated quarterly report on general fund revenue.
Well, kudos, Lisa, to you and your staff, because I think just being able to see this and to be ahead of the game, and if something just does go awry, then we'll be able to adjust quickly. And I know that you look at it daily, but for us to be able to convey that you are looking at it is really helpful. So I appreciate it.
Well, kudos to the city. A comment. The way we watch revenue, we represent that as an internal control to keep the city and fund balance healthy. So it's a great practice, and I appreciate the council's interest in it, and I'm pleased to share and have these discussions. So thank you.
Any more questions or comments?
I didn't recognize Rich because he wasn't on the golf course.
I can fix that.
We keep telling Todd at the golf course that this is his new benchmark year, because he's broken every record known to man in golf, and he just looks at me and says, "No, this can't be my baseline year because I'll never hit this year again."
Well, and if the weather holds, he'll really be up for a baseline banner year for sure.
It's been such a beautiful fall already. We're so lucky.
I've done my share. I've been paying lots of my golf taxes.
Thanks, Rich. Is there any other council business we wanted to talk about?
Chair Jaberg, I just had one item to remind council members. We've only heard from one of you about your food choices for the strategy session next week. So if you'll please let us know so that we can get that lined up and So you can have it, we can all eat pizza together.
That's an awesome idea. Thanks so much to you and the staff for doing that, Janine.
Janine, I did have a question about that. When I've asked them to deliver, we're outside of their delivery area.
We'll make it work. If
Okay.
not,
You can twist some arms. Okay.
DoorDash or Grubhub these days, Rich. Anybody will go anywhere. I just had a quick question about that too, and I'm just assuming that the public can join the work session, the strategy session, just like they would a work session.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. I thought so. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, it is a public meeting.
Yeah, so we'll still just be meeting on Zoom, but the public would be welcome. They just aren't able to comment.
We'll probably get better participation virtually than we ever had in person.
It's possible. I did have another item too, and I don't know if Mark's still here. I have talked a little bit with the Mr. Car Wash on Washington Avenue, or Washington Boulevard, sorry, and one neighbor in particular that has a lot of noise challenges. And I hung around and walked down the neighborhood and the block and everything. And it is this really weird little noise tunnel right to that person's house. It's very weird because somehow, I don't know, I know that code enforcement and the car wash people actually went out there too. So anyway, he's copying me on every email to that location when they're having challenges, because that's what they said to do, is just email and then they would address the sound issues. So I didn't know if there's anything else that we could do. I really don't know what is possible when it's just a business operating and then this particular noise phenomenon is happening at one residence there. I don't know if there's been other complaints from residents in the area. The car wash had said they hadn't really. When they do, they usually just deal with them right then. But this one family just has recurring problems.
We haven't had other complaints that I know of, but I know what I was told that there's some rule that whether it's a company rule or some sort of a OSHA law or something, that they have to sound that alarm when they're starting up the wash. Yeah. Our people tried to work with them to kind of try and mitigate that. I hadn't heard anything about it for a while, so I thought maybe it had been taken care of.
Yeah, maybe it's come to me and said it's not even the alarm. Actually, that issue was dealt with. So it's more about like the squealing vacuums. If the vacuum attachments don't get put back exactly right, they make really high-pitched sounds. And I mean, there's always problems with people playing really loud music while they're vacuuming their cars. But this one in particular, yeah, it's just a very weird little kind of sound tunnel where the particular noise from those machines just really impacts this one house.
Can you forward me the email and then I'll follow up on it?
Yeah, and like I said, I just think it's just a quandary. It's another one of those challenges that is an unintended consequence of having businesses so close to residences. And I do feel like they have tried to mitigate it, but it's just a challenge.
I suspect that's true, but we'll still look into it and see what we can do.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Looks like Councilmember Nadolski is just coming on. Is there anything else anybody wanted to talk about?
I just have one item, Chair.
Yeah.
This is mainly for Mark. What brought it to light is that I noticed there was a report from Salt Lake City that they had somewhere in the neighborhood 125 abandoned buildings. And I wondered, I know we have a demolition by neglect in our ordinance, but I wondered going up and down Washington Boulevard, if there's something we could do to maybe spur to encourage the vacant buildings to be occupied, or the lots around the city. It seems like we're increasing more and more each time, and maybe that's an item for our economic development department to maybe work on. But we do have considerable amount of vacant lots, and which isn't bad, because then we have opportunities for development, but also the buildings where businesses have left and so forth. But it's just as a as a information aspect, maybe so. Maybe there's someone in our economic development that would work on something like that in our city alone, but just as an idea.
We are working on the vacancy issues daily.
Okay.
We put a lot of effort towards that, and we are trying. If you have ideas or people you think we should be talking to about coming to bring their business here, we'd love to hear from you.
This is a tough time of the year trying to bring businesses in. But,
Yeah, and I think I was on the phone with BDO and today, and they referenced that a lot of the call center business is actually going away because call centers are figuring out that they can send people home, give them some security, give them a computer, and they can operate from their residence, and they don't need a building. And so I think this COVID era is actually changing. It's changing retail. It's changing business offices. I mean, there's a lot of changes going on, and who knows where that's going to end up when we get done.
Okay.
Look how many of you work from home now.
Yeah, we can quit renting our space. No, I'm kidding.
Well, appreciate that, and it'd be nice to see if we can encourage some businesses to relocate here in Ogden. That would be a lift in our opportunities. So,
CED has done a remarkable job at the number of jobs they've been able to create lately and bring here. We'll probably do an information item soon and kind of update you where they are, but boy, there's a lot of effort going forth on that. And it is a tough time right now, but there's a lot of companies who want to get out of California and some of the West Coast cities right now. And so we're trying to take advantage of that. And BDO said that they have never, ever had the interest that they have right now. It is off the charts.
Yeah.
So that's good news that, people are wanting to come here and recognize what a good environment is. And we're going to keep going as hard as we can, Doug, to make sure that we can fill up as much of these empty lots and these empty buildings that we can.
Also, maybe a resource would be our small business or local businesses, maybe going into some of those vacant places.
Yeah, some of those small businesses are hanging on by their fingernails right now. So, like I said, timing's everything, and I don't know that this is the timing for some of them.
Okay.
Great. Well, if there's nothing else, it looks like we might have about an hour of rest before we. Oh, go ahead.
Hey, so just FYI, I have had probably more complaints in the last 2 weeks of cars speeding through neighborhoods than I have in my whole 5 years. I don't know if it's, and just really random various people. So I don't know if any chance to get some, I don't know. I don't know if it's schools picking back up, maybe, I don't know, but a lot of people have been complaining about that. So maybe some police presence would be good up here.
All right. Is it up in your area? You're hearing that?
Well, that's the people I'm hearing from. So if I'm hearing that from up here, I'm sure it's everywhere. I'm sure it's around, maybe it's probably even around, Monroe. Maybe it's around the other high schools too. I don't know.
Statewide, we've heard that speeding since COVID has been off the charts. UHP says they've never, ever pulled people over for such high speeds on a regular basis since COVID started. And I think it's kind of come into the community also. And I don't know whether it's just frustration, rage. I don't know, what it is, but we're seeing that. But police are spending a lot of time trying to do that, but we'll focus them up your area. And if there's other areas that you're hearing, email me or text me, and we'll try and make sure we can do what we can to send our traffic officers to see if we can't slow people down a little.
I definitely have seen so much activity on Washington Boulevard, after we've had comments. And now that I have my windows open in the evening, I can hear them too. But I also see a lot of police activity down there too. So yeah, maybe people are just kind of bored and looking for something else to do in their lives. They can be in their car by themselves and do something, but they can't be. I don't know.
It befuddles me how much speeding has gone on, and the police everywhere can't figure out why. So it's an odd thing. But we'll try and do what we can in our city.
Thanks.
Thank you. And if I get them, I will just send them your way or through Janine or whatever, so you can see. But, yeah.
I think it's throughout the whole city, really.
Yeah, I do too, Dad.
Well, at least on Tuesday night, it's not you guys going home, right?
Right.
Definitely not us.
5. Yeah.
I'm a little concerned about the red Volkswagen, though.
Maybe. Alrighty, so I'll see you guys back here at 6 o'clock. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.